Tune up while you're going live, okay?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. This is Songwriters Guild Live with Ro Halfhide. We've got Paula Wolfe from the UK. She's tuning up. We just had a lovely sound check with everything. It's because we're doing this live online. It's quite an interesting challenge to get everything to sound the way we want to, but it's starting to work out. And I think we're going to have a lovely session. Um, Paula, she's, yeah, tuning her guitar. I'll ask her where exactly she is because I don't really know. Paula, where exactly are you? Because the bio said Norfolk and London, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
Well, funnily enough, as the crow flies, I'm probably closer to you than I
so
am to
it's Norfolk
London.
then, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I'm on the east coast, the
Oh,
east
yeah,
coast
yeah.
of England. So the North Sea is about a 40-minute drive away. And yeah,
Right.
if I was to fly from my house, if I was a bird, I'd get to Amsterdam, I think, quicker than I would to London. But yeah, so I here in Norfolk, this is where I've got my studio where I record and write and work. But I'm a lot in London as well. All my family are in London, and I do some teaching in London. So I spend a lot of time on the M11, herring up and down. But obviously, since the lockdown, I've been here. I've been here in Norfolk.
Yeah. Okay, good. Um, so, are you ready for a song, or do you want to chill out a bit more?
No, well, yeah, I think we'll go for a song now that we've
Okay.
finally got everything working. Okay, so shall I tell you a little bit about the song,
Oh,
maybe?
great. Yeah, I would love to hear that. And
Okay. So I was kind of wondering what songs to do today, and actually, this first one I'm going to do is actually the first song on the album called Cherrington Road, and as I'm sure you know, and as I'm sure as all the artists you speak to have probably said the same, everybody's work takes on a new resonance in terms of our current situation of either relevance or irrelevance. Um, and this particular song, it stems from a childhood memory of one of my earliest memories is of me sitting on the swing in our garden, singing Jennifer Eccles, a track from the 1960s. But it's not just an autobiographical tale, really. It's sort of about the nature, I suppose, without sounding pretentious. It's about the nature of creativity, I suppose, and how writing and creating and singing it connects us. It connects us to the world, and like I say, it seems particularly relevant at the minute. So that's the first track.
I've one question though, Paula.
Mm,
Before you dive in,
yeah,
I removed myself from the stream, and then you got bigger, and then I noticed that there's like a desk light.
yeah,
It's in the way, so
right,
it's sort of
okay.
focusing on the desk light right now. So maybe if you could move it out a little bit
Yeah,
before
sure.
you start playing,
Yeah,
that way
yeah.
it will even be better. Look,
Okay, so is it gone? How's that?
it's gone.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's gone. It's good now.
Is that okay? Is it gone? Yeah?
Brilliant. All right. Well,
Fab.
uh, please a warm applause for Paula Wolfe. Yay.
Yay, thank you. No child when I'm gone to pass on to her own kind of holding a cat, feeding a cat, whispering back dreams away. no child to remember myself, to retell the tales I had to tell, so I write it all down, and I pray in a tune like a prisoner scratching obscenities on a prison wall, futile rebellion. And I ran within the walls and waves like a coffin, not to raise my voice above the day, just to joy. I heard someone say just the other day on the radio or in a film somewhere that when it comes to the end, all you've got is where you came from. Summer's day 1968 or 9, sitting on a swing, singing up to the sky, spitting stars and watching them fall and kissing my thigh. Jillian Dubber's grandmother is cleaning their upstairs windows. She waves to me, a fat, long, dusty wave. In the kitchen, my mother boils potatoes, hot potatoes on a hot summer's day. For my father's dinner, we called it dinner even though it was during the day. He rides home on his bicycle from the factory. I run in and clamber on his knee. He asks if we've been watching Andy Pandy and Loopy-Loo on TV. My mother tells him we've been downside in the kitchen to Engelbert Humperdinck. Time to go, he lets me ride as far as the curve in the road, holding me tight on the white leather saddle. He lifts me down, he rides away, and I run back to my swing and continue to sing. I love Jennifer Records, I know she loves me, no child to remember my smell, to retell the tales I have to tell, so I write it all down, and I thread in a tune like a prisoner scratching obscenities on a prison wall in futile rebellion. And I ran within four walls amidst the cacophony, not to raise my voice above the din, or just to join in. I love Jennifer Records, I know she loves me. I love Jennifer Records, I know she loves me. There you go, it's Jennifer Records.
Yeah, that's nice. Lovely song. Lovely.
Thank you.
You are both a musician, a songwriter, and a scholar, I
And a
believe.
producer, yeah.
And a producer. Yeah,
And
yeah,
a
I forgot that one. Yeah, 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 you're right. So yeah, you went to school to learn how to produce.
No, I'm completely self-taught.
Oh, I thought you went to some sort of a university PhD
Oh, I
in
did.
music
No,
production.
I did my PhD in
Right.
music production and music,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a purely academic degree.
Okay.
So I write about music production in gender. I write and research about why it's significant that women produce in what remains, even today in 2020, in what remains a male-dominated area of the profession. And the PhD, which then turned into a book, it effectively charted the rise of self-production practices from the late 90s to the present day, and talks about why that's significant.
Mm-hmm. I can see how that is significant, because if male if you get music through male gaze, you know, to speak, it becomes a different than if a woman is producing music.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. One of the things one of the questions that arose constantly throughout the research, and still arises whenever I go to industry conferences or listen to people talking about this stuff, is that everybody says, why aren't there more female producers? And what I've tried to do in the book is flip that around and say, why aren't there more women in control of their own voices? And there are more now. It's growing, but it's still a minority. It's still a minority activity, even though there is definitely, we've definitely had a tidal change, but there's still a long way to go.
Do you have any producers, female producers that are worth mentioning? I mean, there's probably many, but can you just name a few for us?
Well, interestingly enough, on Facebook recently, there's been, I don't know if you know the artist, the singer-songwriter and producer Rickie Lee Jones, the American artist.
Of course, I mean,
yeah. Well, she's just started, like everybody else. She's been doing some live streams, and Rickie Lee Jones and her work, you know, from Chucky's in Love, and you know that great 1970s album.
Mm-hmm.
The manner in which she created soundscapes, you know, sonic landscapes to illustrate the stories behind her songs. It was her work that because I'd been a songwriter and I'd been a singer forever, but the way it was the manner in which she created those soundscapes that really made me want to be able to do the same. You know, to be able to paint with sound, so that you're creating these miniature worlds, I suppose, for want of a better word.
No, really, that's. I totally agree with you. I think it's so important that people are able to basically paint their own paintings.
Yeah.
You know, usually it was like you had the artist, and then there was a producer who would produce the artist, and I can see the benefit of that, but also the problem is that some artists, that some viewpoints are not represented.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I interviewed a few years ago a wonderful artist producer from Argentina. I'd seen her perform at Glastonbury on the TV, and I just loved her sound and I loved what she was doing. So I got in touch with her and I interviewed her on Skype, and she put it really well. In that she was talking about this very thing that you've just referred to, and she said, you know, if I was to work with a producer, you know, male, female, otherwise, that person would have to know me better than I know myself, and to know what I'm grasping. She made a really nice analogy. She compared music production with embroidery, and that, you know, every tiny stitch you pay, as we know, you spend years, you know, painstakingly getting the right colour, the right pattern, and for somebody who isn't you to do that, you're lucky if you can make that happen. You know, if somebody can make that happen for you. But it's the nature of the creativity for me. It's such a absorbing, intense form of expression that, yeah, I'd find it hard to collaborate in that way. Having said that, a lot of the women who are in the book have, as time has gone by, they've done more collaborations, but the reason they've been happy to collaborate is because they found their own sound first.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That's very interesting. Yeah. You want to do another song?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. This one's also on the album. It's about walking. It's about which I don't know how much walking you can do over there at the moment in Amsterdam. Before all of this, I always liked walking in the mountains in the summer, and this is about a particularly special walking trip a few years ago. It's called Follow.
Yeah, that's nice. Really
Thank you.
great. Beautiful.
Thank you.
So I have a question for these times. It's Corona, COVID-19.
Yeah.
How has that affected you personally or professionally? 'Cause,
Well, I would say, on the one hand, I guess professionally, I mean, like I say, when I'm not in London, I'm here, and it's quite an isolated place anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose in many ways, it hasn't, in a practical point of view, it hasn't affected me in terms of the work, you know, in that I'm still working, I'm still focusing. I'm actually revisiting, I'm re-releasing the whole back catalogue this summer. And the first album, it wasn't, I made it quite a few years ago now, and my mixing levels were a bit crude, to say the least. So it's too distorted to release for digital. So effectively I'm re-recording the album, I'm reworking it. So it's providing an opportunity to kind of consolidate on lots of work from the past before I move onwards. But there's isolation and there's isolation. So, you know, I would be crazy to say that it, you know, it isn't affecting me. And it isn't affecting how I'm viewing things. I mean, one thing I've noticed, just because you're not in constant contact with people, is a drop in energy levels. I don't know if you've encountered that, or if people you know have encountered that, but I find myself exhausted a lot of the time when I'm not doing, you know, a tenth of the work that I would normally do. So when I'm not knackered, it's fine. It's fine. And of course, what it does make us do is just value everything and everyone and every opportunity to communicate and speak to people, whether it be people you pass at a distance when you're out walking, or whether it be doing stuff like this, and just keeping in contact and keeping in touch.
Yeah. I understand that what you're saying about being exhausted and stuff like that. It is. For me personally, I'm fine, but because in the background you have this idea like you're supposed to be playing live, you're supposed to be, you know, doing the things you always did.
Yeah.
And that makes it. I think that's a drain on your energy, because you're all the time thinking in the back of your mind like, this is different from, yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and funnily, I mean, this is delightful. It's actually it's just lovely having a chat like this, because it feels like a proper gig. It feels like a normal gig.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I actually find playing online, just streaming ordinarily, I actually find it really stressful.
No, that's a good thing that you're saying.
I find it more stressful than doing it, you know, in the real world, as it were. I guess because it feels so immediate and so intense.
I agree with you.
And I guess you feel that if you mess up, it's like, oh, your whole world has fallen apart, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was a live situation, you'd make a joke and you just carry on. And I suppose I suppose you can do that, you know, in this scenario as well. But somehow it feels more, the time feels more precious. Something has happened to time when you're doing it live. It's like the nature of time itself has taken on a new light. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's a very very nice way of saying it. I haven't thought of it like that, and you're absolutely right. Yeah, I notice with friends of mine, songwriting friends, artists, that they find it difficult to go online by themselves. They feel, and I had the same feeling. They feel like obstacles are there, like you know. Are people waiting for this? Everybody's already doing it, or stuff like. It feels weird, you know.
Yeah, it's a different kind of pressure. I mean, one of the things that's been happening over here in the UK, within the UK industry, which is it's wonderful. It's not a bad thing. Is that all the various organisations and the trade bodies, they've been putting on loads of training and loads of Zoom meetings. So, you know, there's been a great opportunity to gain information.
Right.
But the downside of that is that it almost adds to the pressure of you thinking, God, I should be doing this and I should be doing that, and you know, and why haven't I created this by now? And so
Exactly.
it's a weird intensification of pressure, even though you've got more time. It is quite
Because
strange.
we're all thinking like, oh, once this is over, we need to be ready to go out, to be jumping out of the gates. And if I don't jump out quick enough, then other people will take over.
Yeah, yeah. But
It's
I
really
guess
weird.
what you've just got to do is, in fact, funnily enough, just the other night, the wonderful poet and rapper Kate Tempest streamed streamed a fantastic poem. She's wonderful, Kate Tempest, and her hook, the repeating refrain was "Hold Your Own," and the idea behind the whole poem is just keep. Effectively, just keep your focus and value who and what you are, and do things when you're ready to do them. And I think even more now, I think we have to resist that pressure and resist that thing of, when it's all over, we're all going to become superstars. The world doesn't work like that.
It doesn't.
Like no.
Good to know that, yeah. You want to do another one? Another song?
Yeah, okay. Well, this one is... I released this as the first single of the album, and it's about it's a completely imaginary tale about a train driver who's a cross-dressing train driver, and ultimately, which again feels kind of resonant to where we are at the minute, ultimately it's about everybody needs to just feel good about themselves sometimes, and in this case it comes from Joseph, the train driver, putting on his best dress and his highest heels and becoming Georgia Blue. on my best dress, my highest heels. Take my time with a face, you know how good it feels. The pain is great and right. You paint these grey skies. It's Georgia Blue.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. I'm just tuning that while you're chatting.
Yeah. I was wondering, let's talk about songwriting a bit.
Yeah.
This is a show that's for singer-songwriters or songwriters in general, and I always ask each artist, like, what is their process? So can you maybe tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. Let me just sort out this G string that's playing havoc a bit. Come on. There we go. Sorry, there's nothing worse than watching somebody tune up. Okay, so I guess there's a couple of approaches. Ultimately, everything has to support the story, has to support the lyric. Obviously, people have different approaches. People go for the vibe first or the rhythm first. I will find a chord or a sound or a set of chords that I really like, and they will I'll play around with those for a while, and I'll also have lyric ideas, thematic ideas, and eventually the two kind of find each other.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose. I mean, and that's a very vague way of saying it, but recently, in the last 6 months to a year, the manner in which I deal with songs that present problems have changed slightly. In that, what I've come to, well, I came to realise it when I was doing the editing for the last album. But very often I find that if a song, and I don't know if you find this, if a song isn't working, it's because it isn't good enough, and it's because very often the melody isn't right. And again, going back to Ricky Lee Jones talking last week or the week before last, she was saying how in this live stream how she does quite a few covers, she plays other people's songs, and she said something that resonated with me. She said, because the guy who was playing with her and interviewing her, a bit like what we're doing today, he was saying, what do you look for in a song? And she was saying the melody. It's the melody that always grabs her. And I would say that's the same for me for any song I might listen to. But also in the songwriting process, if that melody isn't right, latterly it's really that I've worked on. Because the words can be honed. The words are easy, you know. I've always written and I write a lot of poetry, so I don't find a problem with the lyrics or the stories. But it's making that melody have a bit of magic. That's the thing that needs working on. I don't know if that's answered
No,
your
I
question at all.
totally agree with you. Melody is so important, and it's if you have a strong melody, then the song can sometimes just the melody can carry the song totally.
It can, but also
Yeah.
I've been paying a lot more attention recently to phrasing, because as important as the melody is, your choice of phrasing can change the flavour of that melody so much.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess what I'm saying is that we learn all the time. That there's no, as we know, there's no set, unless you're a commercial top liner and you follow formulas. If you which is
Yeah.
what it is, you know. Let's
Right.
face it, that's what it is. Although there's artistry in that, I'm not knocking
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I've done some top lining, not very successfully, but I really like to do it though. But I mean, it depends on if you want to do it commercially or not. I'm not able to do it commercially. I always follow my heart. But I like to just have a couple of chords and then get and then create a melody over that. That's top lining,
Yeah.
and I love to do that. But I guess you're referring to probably there's a sort of a trade where people are actually following rules or certain
Well,
structures.
if you you know, I've been listening. Like I said, I've been listening to a lot of trade talks, and I also do a little bit of part-time lecturing in London, and there's lots of, you know, I come across a lot of young students who they listen to what's in the charts and they dissect it, you know,
Right.
in EDM or whatever, they dissect the drop and they dissect the rise,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
try and mould their heart, their writing
Right.
into that formula.
I get it.
And I think there's if you're
I
doing
mean,
it as a job of work, that's fine. But if, like, to quote you, if you're trying to write from the heart, if you try and follow trends, forget it. You're just gonna lose. You've got to be led by the truth of the song, the artistry
True.
of the song.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although I also think that music is, and not even music, but most art is also inherently copying other people's, or standing on the shoulders of giants, as
Of
Newton would
course.
say. So yeah, but you got to put yourself in there as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
you're
you
right
do.
about that. Yeah.
You do. A quick question for you. I mean, how do you find top lining compared to, as you said, writing from the heart in terms of the creative process? Is it the same thing, or do you find yourself doing different things?
I noticed that most of the time it depends on the music that I get. Sometimes the music is sort of jumpy, corny, sort of, and then I just cannot help myself. I will the melody that comes out and the words that come out are also sort of jumpy and corny. That's the way it is, and it's nice. I can listen to it. I really like it, but I'm also like, it's a bit yeah, it's a bit shallow. Yeah.
I was going to be a bit lacking in soul, perhaps.
Sorry.
Bit lacking in soul, a bit soulless.
Yeah.
But
It's
then
just
at the same time, from a discipline point of view, it's good to write in different formats, and it's good.
Yeah.
It's good for our brains to do
and
different
I like the
things.
process. I even like the song. It's not
Yeah.
problematic at all. It's just that
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it sometimes lacks a little bit of of soul, of depth.
Yeah.
But and then I show it to people and they all like it anyway. So it's like, so it's sometimes I'm also wondering, maybe it's because I know how it's made that I have a certain feeling about the song.
Right.
And just sometimes you just gotta let it go and just let the people decide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. A
Yeah.
good tune is a good tune.
Any what? Sorry.
A good tune is a good tune.
A good tune. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You want to do one more song for
Yeah.
us?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So this is a relatively new one that I've been working on. I can remember the chords. You do something to me. You make me feel completely free. How about free together? How about free together? As Ella and Louis sing effortlessly. Time slips its grip from on her knee, staring at their faces, smiling sweetly on the screen. Her eyes jump to the beat of summertime as she remembers. And a song rings out clear on Christmas morning. His hand calls out dear with quiet charm. Memory melted, but she knows every line. Her arms rise to the beat of what will be. She remembers. You do something to me. You make me feel completely free. How about free together? How about free together? Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. There we go.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, for sure. I really like also the way that you really belt out those high notes. Yeah, that's
Thank you.
great.
Oh, good.
Um,
Okay, thank you.
we needed to hear that a little bit of a little bit of emotion there.
Yeah,
On our solitary rooms. So
indeed.
thanks for that.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's it for today.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the show. This is the first show in a long time.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because I was like, well, it's taking too long. This Corona. I need to get back to stuff.
Well, that's the thing. It's similar to what we were saying before, that despite the pressure, sometimes you just as in real life, as it were, you do have to force yourself to do things, and
Yeah.
and there's good to come out of it.
For sure.
I'm quite happy to admit that before this, I felt exhausted. But I thought, God, can I keep awake enough? Can I have enough energy to do it? But now I feel normal, and it feels normal because we've had a conversation.
That's true.
And you've done what you have to do, and I think that's what we have to keep hold of.
Yeah.
That because we've got so much time, I think we build up we make things bigger than they need to be. So I'm thrilled that you've started doing your show again, and I'm even more thrilled that you invited me.
You were the first one.
It's been a joy. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Good.
So thank you ever so much, Ro. And of course, the reason I contacted you in the first place, back whenever it was,
Yeah.
is that I was due to be in Holland
Exactly.
at the moment. So I gave my lecture in Groningen last week virtually to students.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd planned to do the lecture in Groningen and then do some playing there and then hopefully come down to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So it's
So
worked out.
It all makes sense. That's good. That's good. So is there any, because there's been some people already listening in. Well, I want to thank them anyway. I want to thank everybody. Look, there's even some applause here from Anita. Some applause from Joris.
Oh, that's lovely.
Joris, thanks for watching.
Great.
And if people want to see more of you, is there a place where you are going live yourself? Maybe you're like, well, I like to do this more often. Is there a place where they can see you?
Yeah, well, I've done 2 live streams on Facebook so far. I did one on my birthday on the 29th of March, and I did one on Easter Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So what I've been doing is when I do it on a Sunday.
All right.
So they're called the Sunday studio sessions, and I always do it at 12 o'clock. So there will be another one coming up soon. But
it's on your Facebook page, Paula Wolfe.
Yeah, it's just and find me through the website, paulawolfe.co.uk, and everything's there, and all the information about the album and Bandcamp and all that kind of stuff.
Ah, that's good. All right.
Well,
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.